On my way over to the Meadows, it looks like the weather is kind of going to cooperate. There is no complaints here in regards to the weather, at least. I've received a ton of emails. Not a ton. Quite a few emails over the last, week, asking about the horses, and we talked about the blood work yesterday. I had an email from one of our clients today saying, Anthony, it just seems like this barn has a lot of issues right now in regards to sickness, in regards to tying up or liver counts or a number of other things. Is there something being done wrong? I think it's important to address this. I mean, when it comes to our barn, it is no different than any other barn. Somebody said, you said in your video last night, this is the 5th horse you had on Lasix, a 2-year-old. It just seems like no one else has that many 2-year-olds. Is there an issue going on? Well, I'll tell you the issue. If I don't check last night, Cherry's girl, 2nd in 56-1, fastest mile of her life, and looked very good doing it. Got beat fair and square by a horse that just looked like it was a better horse last night. That may not cause anybody else to scope a horse, but we did. We found a little blood in there. Now, she may have raced 3 more starts like that. We could have dropped her to the stallion level. She might have won her next start in 58-1, 57-4. Everybody would have been happy. The filly's winning. She's having a pretty good year. All the while, you would not have known she's bleeding a little bit. It happens quite a bit more than you think. And I explained that in my email response this morning. The idea that the things that you're seeing right now are indicative of our barn, and solely our barn, or predominantly our barn, or just a lot our barn, is just simply wrong. Every barn in the world goes through this. Now, you may notice it a little bit more because I bring it to your attention, right? I'm the first to critique any of our horses, talk about their issues very openly. If there's high white counts, if there's tie-up, if there's sickness, if there's liver issues, all these things are out in the open. And I think it's important for people to understand that. And then the email also went on to explain, and I don't think it was more of an attack more than, hey, what is your take on this? Memento Mori did not come back good this year. Aunt Lily didn't come back good this year. I've addressed this a number of times, and I think a lot of the times the issues in the barn, or the perceived issues in the barn, come from expectations. Aunt Lily made a lot of money last year, took a good mark, trotted in 55. She's already won in 54 this year. She's trotted well. She's had hiccups. She bled a little bit her last start through Lasix. It's allergy season. Again, it happens. And the speed alone is causing a lot of this, right? It was funny, I was talking to Ron Burke. I'd mentioned it briefly in a video the other day. We were talking about how fast the trotting colts in particular. He is a really nice colt, and we have 3 that I really like. Now, we've laid out exactly what took place with ours the other night. Ron's horse was 2nd, raced very good. But again, he said, he didn't say it this way, but you'll know the term when I say it. Historically speaking, he said, in the past, a horse like Rose Run Banker would be dominant in this division. Instead, he's present. The exact same thing that I said. Supermine winning 56 flat at the Meadows. There's a horse that would be dominant in the past, but now it's just present. You would never have to go in 57 to win a Buckeye before. Now, very rarely. I shouldn't say never have to. Of course, you may have to, but very rarely. But we have like 5 trotting fillies that were, 4 for sure, that were quality Buckeye type horses, but only one of them were winners the other night. So I think it's important to look at a couple of different things when you're looking at our barn. One, expectations. And I know I'm an optimistic person, and unfortunately that may rub off on some of you. And optimism can heighten those expectations. But I would, as I said to the gentleman this morning, I would be very wary of being pessimistic. This game will help you do that. This game will beat you down mercilessly if you let it. But if you start out as a pessimistic person, it's not long before you don't have fun in this game. And a lot of people, they like to hide behind the veil of realism. Well, that's not pessimism, it's realism. No, not really, no. If it's not the glass is half full, there's only one other way to look at it. It's not three ways. There's only two. It's half full or it's half empty. This is the way it is. And I'm always going to be the glass is half full person. So in regards to Maury, no, he raced terrible the other day. He's dehydrated. His bilirubin's high. And although you might have scoped him and not seen blood, when you look at low iron, low platelets, little dehydration, and a high bilirubin, in the past, I won't say historically, in the past, animals don't change. And that is generally indicative of a horse that is bleeding. Maybe it's an ulcer. Maybe we didn't wait long enough to scope him. Maybe the scope wasn't long enough for the particular veterinarian. I'm not sure. But when I see a blood work like that, it does not match what is being explained to me from the vet under scoping. And maybe he didn't bleed as long, but he bled some more. He's always a skinny horse. He doesn't eat the greatest sometimes. Again, those are qualities of ulcers. And if we can find a way to curb that, stop that, and get him eating good and putting on weight, well, I'll put it to you this way. Delicious Stone DK was very skinny. He never put weight on him, and I'm sure that in itself was indicative of him being soaring, and he broke down and, making his way back. He's now looking great. He's actually almost fat. And Teresa, our caretaker in Ontario, has done a tremendous job. Dominic's done a tremendous job getting the weight back on that horse. And before you think it and say it, yes, of course, I thought about sending him to Ontario. Whether it be your surroundings, your stress level, your soundness, your overall health at the time, those things all play a role in your appetite. And more times than not, if you're not eating good, you're not racing good. It's as simple as that. So all these issues I talk about, these are not just indicative to our burn. You may think they are. You may convince yourself they are. But they are not. And just because you don't see L's beside tons of horses' names in Ohio, Ontario, New Jersey, I was going to say Kentucky, but you don't see any there for sure. That doesn't mean that it's not an issue. And if you think that our stable is the only one where horses can come back a little flat, or maybe just the same as they were last year, again, maybe take a look around. I raced against one of the best fillies in Ohio with Maury the other day in Mocha Hill. And she hasn't come back the way that she was at 2. And that's certainly not taking a dig at her. Maybe she get injured. I have no idea. That's just the first one that popped into my head. You don't have to do, if you take the time to do the homework on all the burns that maybe we do on our own, you'd see quite a different picture being painted. And I'm okay with that. I paint that picture. Right? I let you know when things are not going the way I want them to. I let you know when there's issues in the burn. This horse is sore, this horse needs time. This horse is sick, this horse scoped bad, this horse tied up. Liver's high on Emerald Tom. That's my job. Being part of the stable is being part of the most informed group of owners probably on planet Earth. And that's my job. And you can take it and put it into an email and give it back to me. That's fine. But trust me when I tell you, the issues that we talk about on a daily basis are not indicative to the stable.ca. They are everywhere. So we do have some sickness that was running through the barn. We do have some issues that we're dealing with. And when they kind of clump together and they compound, it makes for a very difficult outing. That can be over one day or days or weeks or even months. But understanding there's a problem is always step one. Formulating a problem, or formulating a way to resolve the problem, well, there has to be professionals come into that, right? Dr. Latessa with regards to tying up sickness, liver counts. That's his job. And our team execute those recommendations. So before everybody starts saying, oh, well, things just aren't great, or I'll always have somebody say from time to time, I think the stable's just too good, it's too big, it's maybe getting out of your hands. We've always had good luck. And I think if you just have a little look at our horses overall, the only anomaly is what's going on this week. We've had a much bigger stable than we have right now. We've had way more 2-year-olds than we've had now in the past at times. That guy was giving me the finger. So, with respect to the burn, I think it's important. You can view it however you want. Everybody's different. But I think it is important to take a look at the overall body of work. Might be easier to put things into perspective, I believe. So let's take a look at yesterday in a nutshell. I did it last night on the way home. Obviously, I have no problem with that. Captain Doolittle, I think the problem with Captain Doolittle is he's reached his tether, right? I don't think he's going to be a 56, 57 trotter right now. He may grow into be a decent horse. His attitude is good. His work ethic is good. But the reality of the situation is not quite there yet. And honestly, I think we've given him more than enough time to show a few more glimmers of what we'd like to see. And it just hasn't come to fruition. He'll make somebody a nice horse. But I just don't think he's a stable horse. So I'm going to begin trying to maybe put him on the market, shop him around, and see what we can come up with Captain Doolittle. Had he raced, well, for sure 48 hours earlier, he would have been on the preferred site, and he might have taken Go Strong Hanover with him. But given the sickness that's going around, I'll give them both the benefit of the doubt, and we'll probably race them once more, leading us into August. That'll be their third start, fourth start. And I'm sure somebody will likely scoop them up. Cherry's Girl, I talked about her quite a bit last night also. In fact, that discussion with Cherry's Girl probably prompted at least a portion of the email that was sent to me today with respect to bleeding. I think it is important too. And my own 2 cents on the bleeding issue. I don't think it's new. I don't think it's anything shocking. And I think the biggest factor, well, there's 2 factors. I'm almost certain of that. 1 is allergies, and 2, most definitely speed. The speed these horses have to go. It's not shocking that there's a ton of 2-year-old thoroughbreds on Lasix. We keep breeding these horses to go faster and faster and faster, and act surprised when some of them need a little help, right, with respect to their respiratory system. We knew that there was a chance, we were heading in a direction where there was a chance that Cherry's Girl may bleed, and that may become a problem down the road. It was evident. I'm not going to, bury my head in the sand and pretend it's not. The discussions that Tim and I had after Philadelphia were pretty clear. There was a few specks of blood seen. That's 40 minutes after the race. Were those specks actually kind of streams at an hour and 10, hour and 20, hour and a half after the race? I'm not sure. But there was blood found. I think that's important to note. Last night she raced great, felt great, looked great, did bleed a little bit. And I think the proper, and again, 2 years from now, we may say, well, maybe putting him on Lasix right away isn't the way. Maybe, I can tell you after talking to a number of vets that worked in the thoroughbred, standardbred industry, it may be better if you may think to yourself, just give them time, just give them 2-3 months off. Well, they go through that all the time in Europe and Australia. That's why there's a lot of horses with NZs and A's beside their name racing in North America. And I think a pivotal point in my feelings on 2-year-old, 3-year-old bleeders is simple, and it stemmed from the conversation I had with the lady in I wish I remembered her name, from the lady at the Meadowlands, the commission vet at the Meadowlands on the night that 3 Point Blue Chip raced in the Breeders' Crown elimination. And her answer was simple. He was like a 1.5 out of 5. She said, if you want to continue to race him, I'd put him on Lasix. She goes, there was a time in my career when, we obviously just said, just give them time off and bring them back. But after following these horses upon their return, what we realized was it was only 2-3 starts before they started bleeding again. And that was under the most diligent circumstances where people were really paying attention to what they were doing and still couldn't stop the horse from bleeding. So I'm not saying I'm absolutely positive of how to treat this. This is the best way. There's not a better way out there. I don't know, but I know that Lasix will do the trick. And I think that Cherry's Girl will be a much better horse for it. So that was her. Looks like Money raced great. I told you guys, that horse is an absolute killer that won that race. Missed the world record by 1/5 of a second at the Meadows last night. Shattered the track record. And put a real man beating on some pretty good open trotters. I knew when I got away 4th. Best case scenario, I run down the horse in 2nd. Well, worst case scenario, he didn't race well. But I think the best of the best case scenario would be to be able to run that horse down for 2nd. Looks like Money fought tooth and nail to be 3rd in the middle. Fought off a horse on the outside, got by the horse on the inside, and did the best work he could last night, so he was good. Yo Mister was just a little bit short last night. I had asked Stacy briefly this morning, 1, were you happy with his race? 2, 54-1 seemed a little soft in there. She goes, Anthony, it was really, really windy last night. There was a storm blowing in. The races around that race all went just a tick slower. I said, well, that's fair enough. I certainly didn't know it was windy. I just turned on the race and saw that he finished at the back. Understood that he was off 3-4 weeks and was really looking for just your thoughts on it. So, Yo Mister, he'll be back in next week in tight. I believe he drops down now, so he'll be ready to go. Lifting Legend did what he could. Another horse. I think he's a little bit better than Captain Doolittle and Go Strong Hanover at this point, if we're looking at the bottom of the order. I think his make, his build, he's built nice, he trots nice. I'd like to see him do in the Prospect Series. If he starts to struggle throughout the next few weeks into the fall, then I guess we have a different conversation. But for right now, I think we just wait and see. Rico Tubbs had cut himself last night. I told you guys the chicken and the egg type thing. Did he cut himself and make a break, or did he make a break and cut himself? I would, if you were to push me on the topic, I would say it was the latter. He made the break and hit himself. Put a stitch or two in that skin right in between the foot and the ankle around the heel, but to the side. Not a big deal, more or less just so it heals properly, especially when he's jogging and training. We'll likely have to put toe weights on him because he won't be able to wear bell boots for his next start with that injury where it is. It is superficial, but it does cause a problem in the sense that that's right where the boot sits also, the bell boots sit, the boots that sit on their feet. So he'll be able to go. He's not going to miss any time from this, but I did ask the veterinarian also. I didn't hear back from Tim or her to check his left stifle. I just thought when you come out of the turn into the straightaways, when he switches his leads, without me seeing any interference or hearing him interfere behind, I have to ask myself, where did that break come from? And he's not talking. So we'll get to the bottom of it. I think there's a number of ways we can combat that. The biggest thing is he's already got a win in 57 under his belt. Last night was not a point situation for the standings in Pennsylvania, and I think we're coming into his next start with a minor issue that we have to deal with. Well, 2 minor issues. 1, where did the break come from, which is a much more major issue, and 2, that cut that's on his pastured area that won't cause a problem in his next race. 3 Point Blue Chip was simply just not ready to go last night. We saw a little bit of this week. There was no temperature. We had checked it before he went. There didn't appear to be any sickness. I didn't hear back from Tim after the race, but you can be sure. I don't have to try to convince you on the fact that he was sick. He clearly was. Spitfire was scratched for that very reason. And then we ended our night with a 5th place with highest honors from Post 8, but a very, very good race. 3 wide down the backstretch, the latter part of the backstretch, all the way around the last turn. And again, Right in behind them, I think 54 and a piece, 28 on the end of it. Again, with him being 3 wide in the last turn, I think the horse raced very, very well. And I'll talk to Aaron a bit more when I see him today at the Meadows here in a minute. But from what I saw, I thought the horse raced very, very good. So it wasn't a mixed bag. I was going to say a mixed bag this week. The bag was full of mediocrity, a few pretty good races, a couple of very good races, but at the same time we're left with a number of issues we have to deal with, most of them blood work related, with respect to high liver for sure with Emerald Tom. We've already begun working on that. A high tie-up count, a high AST of 1100 on Uncle Danny. This was not new, this was old. So this was what he was battling going into the race. This did not take place during the race. 1100 AST with a CK below 200. That happened days, if not a week before the other night's race. So I'm a little happier to hear that now, that there was some lingering stuff going on, because when we scoped him, there was nothing found. So I had my concerns, as we have already put him on Lasix, how we combat that moving forward. So I was happier to see that he actually, there was more than enough reason for him to race poorly. And then that got to the other 2 horses. Gymboree had a high weight count. She's being treated also. Mechanically, she should be fine to race on Wednesday. Will she be 105%? I don't know. Every horse is different. But we know what took place again. We know how to fix it, and we're already well down that path. And the same goes for Supermind, with a weight count of 11,000, more than high enough. Showed some mild dehydration, no blood, no mucus, no nothing of that in that regard. But 4 horses that raced abnormally poor. I was disappointed with all 4. I would have been very, very disappointed and frustrated had that blood work come back normally, but it did come back, all 4 of them, with more than enough reason and more than enough ways to explain their poor performances from this week. So when we look back, on Monday, Judy's Money was great. Megan's Lucky Day was very good. Jolene Hall was tremendous. Drew the rail in Kentucky this week, by the way. JK Victory raced pretty good. And then we'd Aunt Sarah and Rosa and Bobby. I just deemed them both just a little bit immature physically, and Bobby a little mentally also. So she went to the field this week. Delicious Stone was great. Simply Chaotic fit the bill for the last 2 on Monday also. Little bit physically immature. He's gone out to the field also. Wednesday we had a good race from Melisandra. Diosa Della Danza. I was brought to my attention she was chartered with a break. I guess you could charter with a break. I didn't feel she made a break per se, but got out of gear. I think a lot of that was attributed to the gear that we'd honored to take her back the other night. I didn't want her racing overly hard. It's a long season, and I didn't want to start down a path of where we're constantly playing defense with this filly. I want to get back to an offensive position with her, and I just thought that was the right way to do it the other night. Just beat for 5th, finished 6th, but paced 56.28 on the end of it. A decent mile, although I can't really say that the line fits the race. It wasn't a horrible race, and I think she'll bounce back quite well, but not what I wanted to see completely, I guess, on Monday. And then the 4 horses that followed those 2 obviously raced poorly and had good reason to. A 5th from Supermind, a 5th from Uncle Danny, a 4th from Emerald Tom, and I think a 5th from Gymboree, but all were poor, and we found out why right away. Thursday, Millie Girl scoped sick, and that precipitated SAA tests on all the horses racing, both today and yesterday. Millie Girl had an SAA of 800, 3 out of 5 for mucus, no blood found. I think we'll bring her back to Ohio, race her in the maiden a couple of times. She's not going to fit the Stallion Series so far in 2024, and we're already 2 divisions in, so our 2 legs in. It just makes little sense for us to continue down that path. Why don't we race her a couple of times? If she bounces back really, really well and is really strong, we can maybe catch the last Stallion Series at the Meadows and then put her away for the year. Memento Mori can't race next week. We have to get all these little minor things in his blood cleared up and fixed up. You know, the horse that raced 2 weeks ago for Dave Palone is the exact same horse that showed up the other night. I raced him as if it was the one I drove. the time before. And you can see, when you see these little minor anomalies in the blood, they can play a big role, especially when they compound, especially when you're looking at 2 or 3 issues and they compound into a much bigger problem in the bigger picture, bigger scheme of things with Memento Mori. And that's where we're at with him right now. A lot of questions to answer over the next little bit. He does have a stake race in Saratoga on the 9th. What? Now what? Got some work to do with Maury. Go Strong Hanover. I don't know if he's a stable horse. I mean, I wasn't disappointed completely with his effort the other day, especially when it's swirling around all this sickness in both barns. So I'll give him a pass for this week, but he's on the watch list. I will tell you that right now. Gorgeous Package was a shining light on a very poor Thursday of racing. She raced very good, and then he's a Fearless Peter, kind of fit the mold with the rest of them. Present. He was present. And then yesterday we talked about at length. I was very happy with Cherry's Girl, especially now that we know that there was an issue that maybe caused her to miss the winner's circle, one that we can rectify and fix. So that's good. Looks like money again. Great. A number of good points towards the end of the week, but not a ton of them. Not as many as I'd like to see, and hopefully that leads into today. We have Leland Hanover and Sweet Lake. They're going to race in half an hour and 50 minutes respectively. We will see how they do, and then Perfection Hanover. My name's Wayne. Arrowhead Hanover. Patrick DePrano. We switch over to Ontario. Blue Rare riding the rodeo. Back to Northfield tonight for Aunt Lily. A full card on Saturday. Sunday, Woodmere Betcha, Foxy Seaside, Solidarity, and Gaslight Hall. A lot of question marks on Sunday. So a lot going on. A lot going on over the last week. Not as much good as we'd hoped, but as I said to our client this morning, I think when you take a look at what had happened more this week, especially now that we have the answers in for a number of them, it's not rare. It's not shocking. It's not odd. It's racing. So that's where I stand. That's my 2 cents on the last 2 days. Hopefully we can start to turn this ship. It's turning slowly, but hopefully we can turn this ship back around and salvage what's left of this week in the month of July. So there you have it, a long Saturday update. I will talk to you all very soon. Good luck today.